Good morning, everyone. It is the Ambassador coming at you with a brand new, one more time, work video. And I hope you all are having a pleasant day whenever you get to watch this. And we are going to be continuing our 80s pop culture series. Going to do a movie review for you. And we're also going to discuss another topic or anything related to said movie. And we're going to be covering one. I actually just watched this last night and everything. I had been wanting to rewatch this movie for a while now and everything. I thought last night was a good time to do it. And we're going to be covering movie from 1986 and everything, Hoosiers. And for those of you who aren't aware of the movie, or those of you who may have not watched it in a while, this honestly was one of the first semi-biographic sports movies that had come out and everything. It stars Gene Hackman, Barbara Hershey, and Dennis Hopper and everything. I'm assuming most of y'all know who those three actors and actresses are and everything. But I have watched this movie a lot throughout my lifetime and everything. And honestly, I think it's a great movie, and this is the general consensus among a lot of people. But the interesting thing about this movie is this is a movie that a lot of high school and college basketball teams, or even just any sports team in general, particularly if they're a smaller school or a less known school, will watch or anything when they're preparing for the upcoming basketball, football, whatever season or anything is coming up. Because this movie is a underdog story. Because this takes place in the 1950s in Indiana, my neck of the woods. It's up in, I think, northern Indiana, in a little town or anything called Hickory. And Gene Hackman plays this, he used to be a college basketball coach or anything, who gets booted out of college basketball because of an incident between him and a player. And he gets brought in by an old friend and everything, who is I think he's the principal and everything at this little high school and everything, in this little farm town and everything in the middle of nowhere, squared, honestly. And when I say this is an underdog story, the basketball team is the underdog, the coach is the underdog, the town itself is really, it's one of those, you drive through it and everything, you miss it and everything. It's one of those literally one stoplight kind of towns and all. And the great thing about this movie is it really speaks to the nature of the human spirit, particularly when you feel like you will never be recognized, you will never be noticed, you will never do anything of renown or note in your life and everything. And it gives you that inspiration to think, you know what, I may be nobody now, but I may leave my mark on this world or on someone in my life at some point, and I will be remembered. I will have a legacy. And this movie and everything honestly speaks very powerfully to that emotion, to that idea of, even if you are an underdog, you can accomplish something great in your life. And the movie itself and everything, there are so many great relationships and everything that are explored within this movie, because you have the relationship between Gene Hackman's character, Norman Dale, who is the basketball coach, and the vice principal, and she's one of the teachers, Barbara Hershey's character, Myra Fleener, I believe her name is. I know the last name for sure is Fleener. But you also have the relationship between her and this one kid and everything. He was on the basketball team and everything. And the character's name is Jimmy Chipwood. And from what I understand, most of the characters in this movie were in fact real life people and everything, because this is based on a real story. I think they switched a few details around just to maybe make it a little more dramatic, or to maybe, I don't know, protect the identity of certain characters or what have you. But you also have the relationship between Normandale and the basketball team itself and everything, and him and the townspeople, because he is an outsider coming into this very close-knit, very small community, and a lot of the people are very hesitant about accepting him. And one character in particular and everything, this guy's name is George and everything, he has stepped in to fill in as basketball coach and everything after the other coach had passed on, as I understand it. And there's a very antagonistic relationship at first between Normandale's character and this guy George. And basically Norman says, your coaching days are over. I'm here to whip these guys into shape, make them a good basketball team, and hopefully make them competitive and make them good. And this guy George or anything is like, I don't like you. You are an outsider. And you pretty much have him trying to turn the whole town against Normandale. And even in spite of all this, eventually at one point and everything in the movie, the town has gathered to do a vote on whether or not Normandale should remain as the basketball coach in the town. Excuse me. And what you have happen is the one character, Jimmy Chipwood, he comes back in because for the majority of the movie, he has not, or the majority of the basketball season, he has not been playing because he doesn't know whether or not he can trust this new coach. And he eventually realizes and everything that he can't. And he comes in and he speaks to the townspeople. He's like, I've been sitting on the sidelines. I haven't been going to the games, or I've been watching the games. I've been watching the practices. He's like, I don't know if this will make a difference or anything in what y'all plan on doing with Coach Dale, but he's like, I want to start playing ball again. And the guy, George, or anything says, I told you all, once we got this other guy out of here, Chipwood would come back. But in a very beautiful and epic moment, Chipwood says, if Coach Dale stays, I stay. If he goes, I go. And you see this very dejected look on George's face and everything. And he's like, well, crap. I'm out. They've done the vote, and they've essentially voted Norman Dale out as basketball coach, but one of the other townspeople who actually supports Dale says, I think we should do another vote. And they do just a yay or nay vote, and the yays have it and everything. Norman Dale stays as basketball coach. And this is the point where the movie starts to turn around and everything, because the team is starting to come together. They've got this one player back in and everything's just firing on all cylinders. The team's doing well. The town's excited. The people are on board. The school is on board. Everybody's supporting the team, supporting Dale. And the team and everything does resoundingly well. They obviously end up going to the state high school basketball championship game, and they play against this other team and everything from a much bigger school. And for those of you who don't know and everything, I will spoil it here and everything, because why not? But the little town, the little team and everything, Hickory and everything, they win. They win the state basketball championship, and this does actually happen in real life. The movie takes place in 1951-52, but I did some research, and this story actually took place, these events took place in 1954. So they fudged a few years or anything, and for whatever reason they did this. It doesn't really detract from the fact that this little school in the middle of nowhere achieved this great achievement and everything, this great moment and everything in the history of the town. And I think one of the other interesting things is you have, as I've mentioned, there's so many great relationships that are explored and built in this movie. And one of them is between Gene Hackman's character and Dennis Hopper, who plays this former basketball player and everything way back in the day. He's kind of unfortunately, he's a drunk. Him and his wife are estranged. Him and his son are estranged, and the son actually plays on the basketball team. But during the course of the movie, Dennis Hopper's character and everything, I think his name is Shooter and everything. I can't remember his last name. But Dale goes to everything. Shooter comes in periodically and gives him these little tips about how to beat these other teams and everything, and it works. And Dale goes to Shooter and says, look, you have been a big help to me. One of my assistant coaches is now ill. I need somebody else that can help me whip this team into shape and help guide them and build them up. I want you to come on board. But Dale says there are some conditions. You need to wear a suit, you need to clean yourself up, and you need to stop drinking. And Dennis Hopper's character, Shooter, is very resistant to this idea because he's like, why does it matter if I shoot, whether or not I drink or not? And Dale's like, I can't have you drinking around these boys. Can't do it. And he's like, he goes to him and he talks to him man to man and says, look, you have the potential to do something good with yourself, and you have this opportunity to reconcile, at least with your son. They never say whether or not Dennis Hopper's character reconciles with his wife or not, but him and his son and everything, they do and everything at one point. And Shooter's like, at first like I said, he's very resistant to this idea, but I guess everything, and they do this off screen. He reconsiders Dale's offer, and he comes back, and he does. In fact, he works as an assistant coach and everything for the basketball team. And there are a couple of instances where Norman Dale gets ejected from a game and everything. One time he actually does it deliberately and everything because the referees are starting to treat him a little more fairly, being a little more respectful to him. And eventually, Dennis Hopper's character, Shooter and everything, actually leads the team to a victory, a very crucial victory. And his son and everything realizes, hey, my dad's trying to do better. He's trying to just get his life sorted out, and I want him back in my life again. And you see there's a scene and everything where actually Dennis Hopper's character, Dale and the son and everything go out into the woods and everything searching for him. They find him passed out in the woods and everything. They get him into the hospital to get him dried out and everything, as they would say and everything, get him off the alcohol and get him and everything because he's caught pneumonia from exposure. And the son comes in, he's like, after this is all over, after you get out of here, after you get discharged and everything, we're going to get a house. And he's like, I want you back in my life, Dad. I love you. And Dennis Hopper's character says, I love you too. So that's another great aspect of this story and everything. Yeah, you have the overarching story of this little school and everything, this little high school going to the state championships and actually winning, but at the same time, you have this reconciliation between a father and a son that's also a very beautiful moment and everything, I think, in the movie. But I think the other relationship I want to talk about for a few minutes is the one between between Gene Hackman and Barbara Hershey's characters and everything, Norman Dale and Myra Fleener. Because the first time they meet, it's actually kind of a comical moment, so to speak. Dale has been driving from wherever he was. I think he was out west or somewhere and everything. They don't exactly say. But his friend and everything, who's the principal and everything at the high school and everything, calls him in and everything to be the coach. And he drives, we can guess, almost nonstop to get to this little school in Indiana from wherever he is at. And he meets Barbara Hershey's character, Myra Fleener, and everything. She's a teacher there at the school. And she's kind of inquisitive about him, and they honestly get off on the wrong foot and everything. And that's the long and short of it is their working relationship is kind of antagonistic at first because Myra Fleener, Barbara Hershey's character, is very protective of Jimmy Chipwood, as I mentioned before. And she doesn't want him to go back into basketball. She wants him to work on his academics and hopefully get an academic scholarship. And Dale's like, look, I have no great interest in this kid. I'm not going to bother him. I'll leave him be. Yada, yada, yada. But throughout the course of the movie and everything, they start to warm to one another and they start to understand each other better. And she has these preconceived notions of what he might think or what he might be, why he might be there or whatever. And she does some digging in it, and as I mentioned and everything, she discovers that Dale's character, Norman Dale and everything, got kicked out of college basketball in New York, and that every high school up there in New York and everything will have nothing to do with him either. And he ends up going into the Navy and everything, and he has been he's worked his up through the unenlisted ranks of the Navy and everything. He's a chief petty officer. But throughout the course of the movie, they start to build this friendship and everything. And the relationship doesn't have a very satisfying payoff. It has a decent one and everything. But honestly, that wasn't the focus of the movie and everything. It was kind of like it wasn't the A story or B story. It was like the C story within the movie. But what you get and everything in this relationship is kind of a microcosm of how people in a small town might react to an outsider coming into their community. And obviously she was very resistant to him being there and everything, and obviously she's trying to protect this one kid and everything, trying to help him be better, trying to help him grow as a person. But she realizes that Dale is very genuine, he's very authentic, even though he is an outsider to this community. And there's a couple of scenes and everything where Dale is interacting with the Barbara Hershey's character and the mother and everything. And the mother is very warm, very accepting, very accommodating, very hospitable to Dale and everything. And she's like, buddy, you've been in this town for almost a week or more now, and you haven't had one single ray of sunshine come your way. She's like, I want to invite you our home for supper. Which was kind of a common thing way back then, and is kind of even nowadays. And the mother's like, this guy isn't bad. He seems like a decent, upstanding guy. He's trying to rebuild our basketball program, trying to make it better than what it was and everything. And the daughter, Myra Fleener, she starts to realize his intentions are pure. His intentions are good. He's not trying to do anything that's not on the level. So, and they do have a moment and everything towards the tail end of the movie before they go off to the state basketball championship. They're standing in a field and everything somewhere, and they share a kiss and everything. And that's all you see is a kiss and everything. We don't know if they do end up in a relationship together or not. That's kind of left hanging, unfortunately. But yeah, honestly, those are my thoughts on Hoosiers. But there's something else I wanted to talk about and everything, and it kind of relates to the movie and everything, the story and the themes of the movie. I'm obviously a small channel here on YouTube, as I imagine there are a lot of channels that are under 1,000 subscribers or barely under 100 subscribers or whatever. And I want to tell you all, I'm just, as I've said in a comment I left on somebody's post not too long ago, I know I'm one voice in a sea of thousands, if not millions. But I want to tell you, for those of you who watch my videos, if you get a little down in the dumps, if you don't think your channel's ever going to grow, or if there's some sort of other thing that you're aspiring to do in your life, don't give up on it. Don't give up on your dreams. Don't give up on yourself. Keep plugging, keep pushing, persevere. And I know at times that can be hard. For those of you who watched my testimonial video and everything that I posted a couple days ago, it can be hard to keep plugging along when you feel like you're not going to get anywhere. But watch this movie. Watch Hoosiers. And it'll give you that inspiration. It may give you the inspiration you need to keep pushing, to keep working, to keep grinding out content, particularly if you are a YouTube channel and you're just starting out. Because eventually, someday, you may be the next Geeks and Gamers. You may be the next World-Class BSers. You may be the next Overlord DVD. Or any of these other. You may be the next PewDiePie. Even though I've never watched a single one of his videos, I have heard of him. You may be the next big channel on YouTube. But know that your efforts are not in vain, and they are not without merit or reason. For whatever reason you decided to start your channel, you decided to embark on this endeavor, this enterprise, for whatever your motivation may be. Because if you look at the team from Hoosiers, this little school in the middle of nowhere, population probably under 1,000, they achieved something great that they never probably believed in 100 years or more would ever happen. But they believed in a man's vision. They believed in themselves, most importantly, that they could achieve this great thing. And they did. And the same is true for you as well. And I want to kind of fold something else in on this and everything. For a long time now, when it comes to this whole fight between the fandom menace and this great big corporation known as Disney and Lucasfilm, we feel like we have been shouting at a brick wall. Or we may have felt like we were shouting at a brick wall and not getting any results. But that's not entirely true. Because our voice is starting to reverberate. It's starting to build like a great choir of voices that is saying enough is enough. We are not going to stand idly by and watch you tear down something we have cared about and something that has been an integral part of our culture and our lives for 40 some odd years. We're not going to watch you tear it down anymore. We're not going to see you subvert a man's vision for some nonsense social justice political agenda. We're not going to do it anymore. And I know I am new to this fight, relatively speaking. I've had this position for a long time, since 2017 when The Last Jedi came out. But our voice can be heard. We can have an impact. This fight is not impossible to win. No more than that little team in Hoosiers winning this great prize. Because they strove, they fought, they persevered, and they achieved. And in a week or so, this fandom menace, which I proudly say I am a part of, can achieve something great too. We can make our voices heard either by speaking or through our actions. And we can send a resounding and hopefully permanent message to Lucasfilm and say no more. No more social justice BS in Star Wars. No more degrading of male characters. No more degrading of our mythology. No more of this nonsense you are trying to shove down our throats. No more the Force is feminine. No more we are all hateful, toxic man babies. No more destroying of our culture. No more. This far, no farther. And we can do it very simply and very easily by not going to see episode 9. Am I saying boycott? Maybe I am. In fact, yes, I am. Boycott this movie. Send a message to these jokers at Lucasfilm and Disney and say, no more. Enough. We're not going to tolerate it. We're not going to swallow your line anymore. And yeah, this might be a bit of a rant. In fact, it is a rant. And I know I've made my position pretty clear and everything in some other videos I've done here, and I want to get back on topic a little bit. But we can take a lot of inspiration from this movie, Hoosiers. We can achieve something great if we set our minds to it, individually and collectively. We all have a voice, we all have a will, and all we have to do is exercise it. And when I say a will, we have the determination and the free will to act as we see fit. So if you decide to go see episode 9, fine. I will think no less of you if you do. But if you're wanting to send a message to Disney and Lucasfilm and say, we reject these films that you have made since 2015, we reject the ideas that you have put into our modern mythology. We reject your message. We reject your ideas. We reject you. Then don't go see it. Don't go. So for those of you who have found this video for the first time, who have found this channel, welcome. This is not the normal tone and tenor of my videos. More often than not, they are relatively more upbeat. I know this one kind of fluctuated in terms of tenor. It went from very positive to somewhat negative and everything, if you want to call it that, or very impassioned. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, consider giving it a like, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing to my channel. I thank you for watching. To all of my followers on Twitter, to all my subscribers here on my channel, I say thank you for always supporting me, supporting my channel, supporting this content. And you can find me on Twitter under my handle, Rogue5778. And until next time, my friends, this is the Ambassador, signing off.